The water pump, I think, is pretty sure is leaking on this, so I ordered up a new one. I'm hoping it's not the timing cover, but I'm pretty sure it's just the water pump. So we're gonna try and replace that. It's kind of one of those deals. It's like so now it's not doing it. Earlier the belt I could just see was super wet. I'm assuming it's the water pump. I'm really hoping it is. The inside of the pulley was really wet the last time. Hope it's not the timing cover. I've heard that these are known for leaking too on that. So well, before I actually touch the water pump, I'm gonna remove the belt. Take a 3/8 ratchet. So before I go and drain the coolant, I'm gonna check some things out. So I already pulled off the belt. You can just use a 3/8 ratchet to touch that. You got that tensioner pulley down there. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. Got the belt removed. I don't have my belt diagram, but take a picture of the belt if you don't have the diagram, so you know how it goes back on. But another trick too for pulling off the water pump pulley, you can loosen all those bolts while there's still belt tension. That'll kind of help you. But I'm gonna go ahead and try my power ratchet here. Maybe. Alright, so I loosened up. The power ratchet did work. It was kind of a pain, but I did get it. So they're 10mm bolts to hold the water pump pulley on. I'm just going to pull the pulley off right now before I drain the coolant, because it's kind of concerning. I'm starting to wonder if it's the timing cover that's leaking and not so much the water pump. No, there is a lot of fluid inside the pulley. Let's see here. Looks like the water pump's can't quite tell. It is pretty wet. I don't know. Probably wouldn't hurt to change out anyways if it is leaking on the timing cover. That'll be another big project, but alright, well, next step I guess I'll go ahead and drain the coolant system. Okay, so I cracked the radiator cap just so it let air in there. Let's see. I did find the radiator drain, so go ahead and do that. It's located on this side of the car, driver's side. I'll see if my drain pan can reach it. It might be easier to have the car up on ramps, but I don't know. You can see it. Probably not. Like a little plastic tang lever. Well, it's somewhere up in there, so I'll go ahead and get that drained. Got the coolant draining now. So basically right above where that's draining is where that little valve was. I'll let that drain for a while. I think a complete drain, it takes like 11 point something 6 quarts for this car. which I have. I'm not going to do a full flush, so I'm just putting the Dex Cool compatible back in, because that's what it looks like this has. Anyways, once that drains down, I'll pull the water pump off. I probably should put a new belt on, but I'm kind of going the cheap route right now. Just getting by. Eventually I'll get probably a nice Gates belt on there, but I don't want to throw too much money at this if I got to pull all the timing stuff off anyways, if it is a timing cover leak. So I went ahead and I cracked this bleeder. It's for bleeding out the coolant system on these engines. I went ahead and cracked that, and I heard a lot of air hissing in, so for draining it, that'll probably help it drain faster. That one, that size is a 9/32, and so I cracked that to let it drain a little bit more too. So I did go ahead and remove this little belt guard. I was just held on with a little 8mm bolt right underneath it. I removed that. Now I have more access to the water pump, but I believe the water pump's just held on by all these 8mm bolts all the way around it, so I'll go ahead and remove that. Alright, should have all the bolts removed. If it is stuck, you can kind of use pry bar or a screwdriver. Try and break water pump free, just kind of like that. Yeah, it definitely was weeping through the weep hole. So, okay. It makes me feel a little bit better. You're gonna have a little coolant coming out. Probably no easy way of doing it. It's always gonna be a messy job, but next I'm gonna go ahead and clean up this gasket surface for the new water pump. So, the new water pump I found on Amazon, AC Delco water pump. It's the part number and everything. It was like 40 bucks on Amazon, which I didn't think was a bad deal for a AC Delco. It comes with a gasket, and here's the new pump. It's got a different impeller design, so I don't know if it's an updated design or old design. It's like a big heavy cast one. And then you got this, so I don't know if they've just started cheaping out on them or what the deal is. But anyways, got the gasket surface pretty much all cleaned up. Take a little, either best way is a scraper and try not to gouge it too bad. And I had to hit it with a little bit of sandpaper. But yeah, otherwise I think I'm ready to install this one. So. Alright, got the new pump in, pulley installed. I did notice that the bolts are kind of like clocked, so there is a certain orientation you have to put it. This one, I noticed the AC Delco pump had a notch, and with this one the only way the bolts work, they had to be facing up, so must be how they want it installed. Even though I see the weep hole there, but it's kind of concerning me because I didn't think you put the weep hole on the top. But this pump has 2 weep holes, so which would put one at the bottom. So maybe it is how it's supposed to go. That's the only way it bolted in. So next, I'm gonna get ready to clean up that pulley, get that all cleaned up. Probably spray some brake clean and stuff down there. Probably actually a carb cleaner because it's a little safer on rubbers and stuff like that, but I got some coolant down there on the belt and stuff. So like I said, ideally you should replace the belt because rubber getting coolant soaked, it's probably not the best thing for that belt, but it's better than oil, I guess, but it's still not a good thing to do. But I'm just trying to be the cheap route right now. So, got the belt on now. It's kind of funny, I went to go wash this belt guard off, and here I thought the tag was gone. It was just covered in that much grease and oil. So I do have the belt diagram. It was crazy. As soon as I washed it, I just washed it with Dawn dish soap, but Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna fill that back on, and then I'll start close up the radiator cap or the drain, and we can start adding coolant. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and start mixing. I bought the concentrate, so I bought some distilled water to use. It's best if you don't use hard water, and it's not very good, so you're best using distilled water. And that you can buy pre-mixed 50-50, but I don't know, I like kind of being cheap about things, so I want to save money, so I bought that and just some cheap distilled water. Anyways, it's about a cheap measuring cup from like Walmart or wherever, 99 cents, 97 cents, or whatever. Or you can borrow the wife's, but she might get mad at you there. So I bought a cheap one just to keep in the garage, just for this kind of stuff. Anyways, so I'm gonna just keep doing 50-50 parts until it's full, and we'll go from there. I'm not quite sure how much drained out when I did this. That's why I'm staying with Dexcool instead of doing a complete engine flush, because I'm sure there's gonna be stuff in the block yet, in the core, and I didn't want to get that involved. So we're just gonna do it this way. Keep it Dexcool, because it was orange coming out, so I just want to keep it compatible. Otherwise, you start mixing coolants, and you can make acids, and it's just not good things. So if you know what coolant's already in the engine, and if you don't want to do a complete flush, I would just stick with what they had in there. And being that it was orange, I'm assuming it was Dexcool compatible, and that's actually what I think came in these cars. But I've heard you can switch completely over to green and stuff like that, but I don't know, it's like I don't know if it's a myth or not. I don't know, there's always a big controversy about Dexcool wrecking gaskets, especially on these motors. But then I've also heard that, well, these motors just had the bad gasket design. So I don't know, most modern GM vehicles come with Dexcool, and I haven't really heard any issues from the Dexcool in those, so take that how you want. But there's nothing wrong with converting to green. I'm just not going to do a complete flush, so I'm using the Dexcool compatible. Alright, so I filled it, kind of topped off the radiator. I did have this bleeder cracked, but nothing came out yet. I went ahead and I cracked this bleeder, and there was already fluid on top of the thermostat housing, so I put the radiator cap back on. I'm going to fire it up, let it run for a while, and then we can try and purge this one while it's running. Let it get up to operating temp, let it cool down, and we'll check and see if we need to add more coolant. But I put about 12 cups of coolant in that, so it might be more, I'm not sure. So we'll see what we get here. I'm going to fire up the car and let it kind of get it to operating temp. Yeah, the lifters might be a little noisy. This thing's got really loud lifters when she sits for a while. So, who knows, maybe that'd be a death to this motor one of these days. This is weird. I felt that pulley's not sitting very straight. But I don't know, it's weird. But we'll let it run for a while, and we'll crack the bleeders. Well, seems like it's running okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and drive it around for a little bit. I'll pull it back up on the driveway. My driveway slopes down, so pull it back up, and maybe that'll bleed some more air out of the system. But so far, the coolant gauge isn't doing anything weird. So we might have got all the air out of the system already. Just drove it around for a while. I had good heat. Now we'll see if it's still leaking anything or if everything's good. Well, that's how you replace a water pump anyways. We'll see if it's a radiator or not. I'll just keep an eye on the coolant levels. Could be residual that's been sprayed into the radiator too, I don't know.